To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. The race to November is on, and I'm starting a series of interviews inviting all congressional candidates to be on To the Point. We've put in that request to District 22 West Palm Beach area incumbent, Democrat Lois Frankel. We should be hearing from her next week, scheduling that. But today, we begin with her Republican challenger, Dan Franzese. We appreciate you being with us. My wife's Italian, and she won't forgive me if I don't ask how you said it in the old country.
So I've always said Franzese. We Americanized it years ago, but if you went back to the village my grandpa came from, they would say Franzese.
I love that pronunciation.
And I like that pronunciation too, but nobody can ever get it right. So that's why we Americanized it decades ago.
When you came to the new country. Tell us a little bit about your background, first of all, sir.
So I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. That's my background.
Investment background?
Investments and finance, MBA in finance from Wharton. And so that was where I got my professional training. And I had a very successful business career. And so that's my background. And I always like to tell everyone, you know, what can you expect from me? I'm a businessman. I'll bring a businessman's perspective to Washington. And the reason I'm running, I want to get our country back on track. I want to get our country back to the formula that made it the most successful country in the history of the world. Unfortunately, for the last number of decades, we've been trying to undermine that. And I'm talking about things like safe streets, good schools, rule of law, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, equality of opportunity, but not outcome, and a business system that rewards hard work and good ideas. I myself am a beneficiary of all that because I had a blue-collar upbringing. My father was a union carpenter with an 8th grade education, but we had good schools that I took advantage of and a business system that rewarded hard work. So I'm a product of the American dream, and that's the America I want to hand off to my children and grandchildren.
How many children? And you're going to get you in trouble if I don't mention that your wife of nearly 38 years joined you here today.
I am still married to my college girlfriend, 38 years. We met in 1982 and 2 adult children.
Let's talk issues. You talk about issues and say you're side by side with Donald Trump. He talks about economy and inflation as keys for him. We have a $25 trillion economy. In truth, what can any politician really do to change the arc of what we're seeing with our economy? What are you going to do to make pocketbook life and issues better for your average person, your constituent, should you be elected in this district?
So inflation is out of control. It's at least 20% since Biden took office, and in reality, for most working people.
Although it's come down quite a lot.
Well, the rate of growth has come down, but the overall amount is still growing. People must always remember that. And I also say that for working people and retired people, it's more like 30% because the price of food and energy has gone up more than 20%. And for those people, that's a greater percentage of their disposable income. So
20 in toto over a number of years.
It's a cumulative amount since Biden took office, 20%. But for things like energy, it's all over the place. I mean, gas prices are up at least 50%.
So what do you do?
So we have to stop inflation, and people ask, okay.
But inflation is deemed to be under control. The Federal Reserve's getting ready to do at least a quarter point, we believe, cut in the interest rates. So right now they argue it is back under control. So what do you do to further that?
I would like to reverse it, and there's a couple of things. Number one, I want to get back to balanced budgets. It's the out-of-control spending we've had for the last 3.5 years. That was a large part of it. Number two, I'd like to get back to energy independence, which has many facets to it. It's a national security thing, but it's also an economic thing. If we can get back to $2 gas, that'll ripple through the economy and bring down energy prices.
Democrats argue that right now we're the biggest oil producer in the world.
We are.
So how do you top being the biggest oil producer in the world that we are right now under Democrats?
We could be even bigger. I mean, we could be even bigger than we are. There's a lot of oil wells that have been stopped up and not allowed to pump, ditto for natural gas, and there's also more drilling that could be done. It's a national security thing, too, besides an economic thing.
Sir, you've talked about a balanced budget amendment in your campaign literature, and you say, at the same time, I will not allow Washington to cut Social Security on Medicare. This is a question I'll be putting to your Democratic opponent as well. But I want to ask you say you want a balanced budget amendment, but the fact of the matter is that Social Security and Medicare, recent report from the Congressional Budget Office, interest, Social Security, and health, responsible for nearly 90% of spending growth. So how can you be for a balanced budget amendment if you say, I will not let Washington touch Social Security and Medicare? What do we need to do in entitlement reform if we're really serious about a balanced budget amendment and fighting deficits?
Well, there's two sides to a budget. There's the revenue and there's the expense side. So on the expense side, you're right. I will not cut Social Security or Medicare, and I want to be very clear about that.
But then how do you rein in spending?
But there's plenty of bloat in Washington, and in particular, the Department of Education is one I like to see cut, and I'd like to do something else. I'd like to bring in something I just heard President Trump advocate for, which is an efficiency commission. That's similar to something I've been advocating for years. But the expense side's only one part of it.
But in fairness, before we move on to the rest of that question, on the expense side, and again, this is a question for Democrats and Republicans because deficits have been running amok among both. But the reality is that spending outside entitlements is not nearly enough, economists agree, to remotely trim the deficit that right now is over $30+ trillion, and some say it's arguably a lot higher. So without major entitlement reform, they say it simply cannot be done. And are you willing, for instance, to raise, as my colleague Brian Crowley pointed out before he went there, are you willing to raise the Social Security retirement age, for instance?
No, that's part of saying I want to cut Social Security.
Sure.
But there is a lot of government bloat. I'd like to see that efficiency commission put in place. But there's the revenue side of it, too. That's another way of balancing a budget.
Sure.
And I actually believe tax cuts will bring more businesses back to our country and stimulate more growth. So that actually will increase the tax base. Same thing for reducing regulations, which are business killers, especially small business killers. And I'm a very pro small business person, having started one and successfully sold one. And regulations are the ultimate killer of small businesses. I would cut them back. I love Trump's idea of cutting back 10 for every new one they put in place.
Immigration. Economy, immigration have been hot button issues driving this campaign. On immigration, you talk about finishing the wall, securing the border, as former President Trump, if he's reelected, said he wants to do. Certainly, the Biden-Harris administration's faced bipartisan criticism by many for what has been perceived as inaction on the border, but they have argued that it was former President Trump who urged the House not to vote on a bipartisan immigration reform bill earlier this year. Jim Langford out of Oklahoma had sponsored that. Had you been in Congress at the time, would you have voted for or against that major bipartisan reform?
Well, you are right. We do need to secure our borders, and we need to get it down to zero immigrants, illegal immigrants coming in.
Would you have voted for or
I would have voted. Well, no. This has relevance to your question. I would have voted against it. Reason being is that it's still allowed up to 5,000 illegals per day. It should be zero. That's the only bill that would have been acceptable. So even though they called it bipartisan and all that other stuff, it was frankly a sham, in my opinion.
Wall Street Journal, the conservative pages of the Wall Street Journal said this in the spring. Survey finds broad support for the kind of comprehensive immigration reform that has repeatedly failed in recent years. And again, many argue blame to go around for Democrats, and we'll be asking your opponent about that, but also plenty of blame to go around when a former president says don't vote on a bill that had bipartisan support.
Well, the reason most people have support for it because they don't understand what was in it. When I tell people it would still allow 5,000 people per day or 1.5 million illegally to come in, and they say, well, that's no sealing of the border. And just because people called it bipartisan doesn't make it good.
Sadly,
and by the way, I think there was only 1 or 2 Republicans that went for it, by the way.
The number was higher than that, but you certainly are right.
It was a small number.
But it was a bipartisan bill that had been pushed, and there was a former president who you say you stand side by side with saying, don't vote on it. And again, there's many arguments, as you pointed out. We'll be asking.
It was a sham.
Well, the Democrats will argue differently. We'll be putting similar questions.
It would institutionalize criminality, which is people coming into our country illegally. So therefore, I stand by what I say. It was a sham, and I would have voted against it.
Let me ask you about a few foreign policy issues, but before I do, sadly, gun safety is back in the news. This past week, of course, the tragedy in Georgia, 14-year-old under arrest, used, at least according to early reports, an assault-style rifle, just as was used in Parkland in the massacre that took 17 lives here. Is there not room, even though you are an ardent supporter of Second Amendment rights, to say we do not need assault-style weapons?
The problem isn't the weapon, it's the weapon operator. Just like cars. Cars kill thousands of people every year. It's not the car's fault, it's the car operator. You know, in that particular case, I'm sure there's a mental health issue behind it, and that's what we should be addressing.
But when there's enough firepower for every man, woman, and child in America, a nation of 330 people, according to gun safety advocates, to each have a gun, when's enough enough?
I don't think that's the right way to frame the issue. I think the issue is, well, what's the problem? And you're right, there's trillions of rounds of ammunition in this country, right? And hundreds of millions of guns. And I would say if that's really the problem, you'd know about it by now. These mass shootings don't occur because there are too many guns. It's because of, I don't know enough about that particular case, but in most of these mass shootings, they turn out to be people suffering from mental illness who should have gotten proper treatment. That's what's behind it.
Foreign policy, you've said I will stand always 100% with our best ally, Israel. Want to ask you about Ukraine. Had you been in Congress at the time, would you have voted for or against more funding for Ukraine?
And on the first point on Israel, I stand behind them, and I don't feel Lois Frankel's support has been strong enough, and that we can chat about that if you like.
Go ahead.
For sure. I mean, I'm an unwavering and unapologetic supporter. She has been someone who has stood by and said nothing when people in the Squad and the Progressive Caucus, which she was a member of for many years, said some of the most horrible anti-Semitic things. In fact, I think a lot of the tone in this country was set by the message coming out of Congress that she said nothing about. She finally did quit the caucus when it became politically proper necessary for her to do that, but I felt that she had not been as strong as she could be.
Mr. Franzese, Ukraine funding, had you been in the House, and it was a super heavy lift for the House Speaker to finally get it across the finish line, had you been in the House, would you have voted for or against more funding for Ukraine?
Well, I'd like to see us secure our border first.
But first answer the specific question.
You need to understand the context of it.
Well,
I do support us. Listen, Ukraine is all about Putin, and it's all about standing up to Putin.
So would you have voted for or against funding?
Just generally speaking, I am in favor of supporting the effort in Ukraine, but I also feel there needs to be more accountability than we've gotten for it.
Understood, but would you have voted for or against more funding?
I generally speaking, I will vote for continued support, but it needs to come with accountability, but also with support for our own borders.
Also, NATO. The former president criticized for comments about NATO, and his critics argue NATO's not a shakedown group that you say if you don't pay, good luck, and Russia can do what they want, quote unquote. Are you supportive of NATO? Do you believe NATO has to be a vital part of our alliance? What do you say about the former president's comments?
I feel it has to be an important part of our defense, and I also know they need to step up more than they have. We've been shouldering a disproportionate burden. I embrace working with other countries in positive ways, but they have to pull their weight, which they're not.
I want to come back to the economy one last chance, then give you a final moment to frame why you versus Lois Frankel. Tariffs. The former president, if he's reelected, said, I believe in steep tariffs against China. Economic groups, including the Booth School out of Chicago some years ago, I know as somebody from Wharton, you're familiar with all the folks there, said a tariff is a tax on American workers. Democrats have argued it could be in the thousands of dollars. There can be some dispute about that, but the argument among economists is that a tariff at a time when you're saying you want to make it easier on our pocketbooks would be a tax. By the way, we'll be asking Democrats, they've kept a lot of tariffs in place that were put there by former President Trump when he was in office. But on tariffs, will you support the former president if he calls for tariffs?
You know, that comment you say come from economists is a bit of a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. In certain circumstances, I would totally agree. There are other times when we're not being treated fairly, and you do need to take action. So it's hard to come out with a one-size-fits-all answer from my side, but there will be times when it's necessary to do it if our country is being unfairly treated. I'm all in favor of fair trade, and sometimes you do have to have tariffs or threats of tariffs to get you there.
I want to give you a chance. There's so many things we could cover, but we wanted you to have a chance to introduce yourself and your campaign to our audience, which we greatly appreciate. Give us some final thoughts. Why you versus Lois Frankel, and fundamentally, what do you want people to be thinking about when they early vote, go to the ballot box, make their voices heard?
Sure. So this is a brief interview, so if people want to learn more about me, they can go to my website, danforusa.com. Okay. That's the word for, F-O-R, danforusa.com.
All right.
You know, to repeat something I said earlier, I'm a businessman. I'll bring a businessman's perspective to Washington. I want to get our country back on track and get it back to being the kind of country I grew up in, which it does not resemble at this point. Lois Frankel has 100% of the time supported the current administration in all the horrible things they've done to create inflation and also to give us a non-secure border. She, for example, voted against deporting any illegal alien who has committed certain crimes, like been convicted of DUI or injuring a police officer. I think most Americans I talk to find that unacceptable. One final thing about Lois Frankel, I would like to have debates with her. I put out a notice on Wednesday and a press release. I'd like to have at least 2 debates with the principal topic on the first one being the economy, the next one immigration. It'd be great if you guys would televise it.
We will be asking about their willingness to do debates, as I must say I'm doing with candidates across all districts, not just this district, but we appreciate you taking some time to introduce yourself to our viewers. We'll be keeping in touch, of course, as we lead up to Election Day. Dan Franzese, Republican candidate for Congressional District 22. Thanks for giving us a few minutes of your time today, sir.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Up next, Ryan Crowley to talk about the races that aren't for the White House. Next.